This video is about metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks are rocks formed as other rocks are changed by heat and or pressure. Those are our key words. Remember, heat and or pressure can also be called metamorphism. Just a note, remember other rocks mean any type of other rock, so even a metamorphic rock can undergo intense heat and pressure and turn into a different type of metamorphic rock. So high pressure and temperature will combine to alter the texture and mineralogy of the rock. Okay, that's really important. And it will not melt it, because if it melted it, then that would create magma, which would then create an igneous rock. Okay, so there's this changing going on due to heat and pressure, and the change will keep it a solid. What's interesting is the word metamorphic can be broken down into meta meaning change and morph meaning form. So it makes sense that metamorphic rocks will change their form due to this heat and or pressure. There are two types of metamorphism. The first type is called regional metamorphism, and this is when we have high pressure and temperature affecting large regions of Earth's crust. If you think about the word regional, okay, it makes sense that we're affecting large regions of the Earth's crust. Okay, so if we think about what kind of environment would produce regional metamorphism, really good example here would be mountain building. This animation shows a really good picture of what mountain building looks like. You can see that as the plates are moving around, of course this takes a long period of time, but there's intense pressure, which also we could have a lot of heat in this environment too, but definitely intense pressure squeezing these rocks together, which is going to be that regional metamorphism. Now, we can always have a low grade, an intermediate grade, or a high grade of metamorphism, and this really reflects the intensity of your temperature and pressure. So I'm going to show you a diagram that's going to explain this a little bit better. What we're looking at here is a diagram that shows us the intensity of metamorphism. So at the top here, you're looking from low to high metamorphism, and you can see that the higher you get, the closer you get to melting. Of course, if we melt that material, we're no longer metamorphic. We're now going to be magma, which can turn into igneous rock. So when we discuss metamorphism, we're always talking before the rock melts. So over here is your parent material, and then as you go through metamorphism, these are the rocks that you can turn into. So shale is a sedimentary rock that we've already identified in the lab. If we put this under metamorphism, so heat or pressure, that's going to turn that into slate, okay? And then our slate, if it goes under intense heat and pressure, will turn into a different type of metamorphic rock called schist. And if we put schist under intense heat and pressure, that will turn into the highest grade of metamorphic rock called gneiss, okay? Now, if we started with a granite and put that under intense heat and pressure, that could also turn to gneiss, which is an igneous rock, the granite is. And if we started with rhyolite and igneous rock and put that under intense heat and pressure, we can get schist. So, like we said before, metamorphic rocks can either come from sedimentary or igneous or a different metamorphic rock. So if we look here, clay forms our shale. Shale, put it under intense heat and pressure, so we're burying it to a further depth in this diagram. It is now turning into slate. That rock gets buried deeper, turns into phyllite, a higher grade metamorphic rock. Put that phyllite deeper, turns to schist, a higher grade metamorphic rock. And then we put the schist under intense heat and pressure, that turns to our highest grade gneiss. Now, why isn't there a higher grade than gneiss? Well, if this went further down in, this blue right here represents melting. So if we put this under any more heat and pressure, it would melt and eventually form magma, so we no longer would have that metamorphic rock. So if we look at page 7 of our reference table here, you can see that the rock names I was just discussing in that diagram, slate, phyllite, schist, and gneiss, all of these rocks form from a regional type of metamorphism, okay, which could be in that mountain building environment. And then you can see their grade here in the comments. So slate is a low grade metamorphism of shale, okay, which is that sedimentary rock. Phyllite is a little bit higher, so as we go down, this arrow shows you as you go down, you are increasing your metamorphism. Schist is higher than phyllite, and then gneiss, you can see here, says the high grade, and you're going to see that high grade being formed there into these bands. Okay, so this texture is foliated, which we're going to talk about in a second, but this is talking about your type and your grade of metamorphism. The second type of metamorphism is called contact metamorphism, and this is when hot magma touches existing rock. So we're talking about heat here, we're talking about heat touching the rock. Now remember, this will not melt the rock, but it will change the texture and recrystallize the minerals within there. So igneous intrusions, if you remember, we talked about this with igneous rocks, and you can see them all throughout here in this picture. That is going to be that igneous intrusion, which provides the heat to the surrounding bedrock around it. Over here you will see this little lined image there. That is on the outside of your igneous intrusion, and that represents contact metamorphism. So that means that heat has made contact with that rock, and within those areas you're changing the mineral, so you're technically changing the rock. Okay, so in your notes, this first point that my mouse is over is point A. So what we want to do is we want to look at our reference table on page 7, and we want to determine, first of all, what rock this is, sedimentary rock, by using our map symbols, and then we want to determine, okay, if this rock goes under contact metamorphism, what metamorphic rock does it turn into? So let's look at our reference table. And if we see here that pattern, so let me scroll up here to find that pattern. That first pattern was shale, okay? So we want to know if shale goes under contact metamorphism, what does it turn into? Well, shale, if we look under our comments, metamorphism of shale, that would be slate. So rock A is going to be, if we go back to our notes, what type of metamorphic rock would form there would be A. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video, and I'd like you to write your answers for point B, which is here, point C, and point D, and see if you can come up with the right responses. Okay, now that you've paused your video and answered those questions, point B, this was sandstone. So when sandstone goes under metamorphism, we can see that that would be quartzite. Point C was limestone. When limestone goes under metamorphism, it's marble. And then point D was the shale again, so that would be slate. Hopefully you got all of those right. Okay, our textures for metamorphic rocks are pretty simple. You're either going to be foliated or non-foliated. Foliated are wavy layers or bands in the rock, and the way those bands are going to be produced is through that heat and pressure. So if we take a quick look at this animation here, we can see that we're starting out with the igneous rock diorite, and again, we go through metamorphism. Those minerals that are within there are going to change due to high temperatures or pressure, and that's going to cause this squeezing. Now this squeezing, if there's enough of it, is going to cause these minerals to form bands or just a kind of layered look, which we call foliation. So you can easily see that in this animation. So if we go back to our notes here and you look at these pictures of these rocks, any kind of wavy sections here or layers or like striping there, that's going to be your indication that there's banding. This over here is slate, and you can see, it's best to look on the side of these rocks, but you can see the banding within there. So if we go to our reference table really quickly, under texture, here's foliated. All of these rocks, slate, phyllite, schist, and gneiss, have banding to them. Gneiss is going to be the one that has like the striping or the banding because it's under the highest grade of metamorphism. Slate, you're going to have to look at that from the side to see very faint foliation, but there will be some lines there showing you the layers. Opposite of that is non-foliated, and that's lower on your reference table here. So if we go back to our notes, non-foliated rocks are going to be composed of minerals that form blocky crystals, okay? These, I think, are the hardest rocks to identify, but if you think about what their parent rock was and you try to identify that within it, it might help you identify it a little bit better. So marble is going to fizz with acid because its mineral within it is calcite or dolomite because its parent rock is limestone or dolostone. Quartzite here has interlocking grains of quartz. It scratches glass, rock fragments through the grains rather than between the grains as it does in sandstone. So you can kind of see that this was once sandstone, but it doesn't quite look like a sandstone because it's gone under that intense heat and pressure. So if we go back to our reference table, like I said, under comments, you kind of really want to look for what did it used to be. So anthracite coal used to be bituminous coal. Hornfels is really difficult to identify because this could be any rock that has gone through contact metamorphism. So various rocks can change into hornfels. Quartzite is made from quartz sandstone. Marble is made from limestone or dolostone. And metaconglomerate, if you remember conglomerate from sedimentary rocks, you're going to see pebbles that are distorted, okay? So composition is on this side, and type of metamorphism, which you'll have to look up, is in the center there. So remember, metamorphic rocks form from all different types of rocks, and they have to undergo heat and pressure.